All right, welcome back. This is the second half of the 19C notes on the idea of a limit. So we just did a couple examples on our own here, and we just finished B. So now let's go over and try C out. Okay, so we got limit as x approaches 1 of x plus 3 over x minus 1. Now this one doesn't factor, so we can't do that nice little trick of trying to factor it and see what we end up with. So that doesn't work. So again, we can do this on the graphing calculator if we want, plug in a couple values, or you can do it again on your scientific calculator. Again, I think it's a little bit easier to just plug in the function here into the y equals and then calculate the values. Okay, and then it's also kind of nice because then you can actually see what the function looks like. So let's do this one. We got x plus 3 divided by x minus 1. Okay, so we have that, and again we can look at the graph if we want to, and as it's approaching 1, as we look at this here, it appears that there is not a the limit does not exist because it looks like it's approaching two different things. So again, two different values. So let's double check it, calculate the value again as we're approaching 1. So let's put in 0.999, and when we get that, we get, so as we approach from the negative side, we get, what, do we get a big negative number? Yeah, we're going to negative infinity. Okay, and as we approach from the positive side, let's see what we get there. Second, calculate value, and we're going to do 1.001. And if you look there, we get 4001, so we are approaching positive infinity. So this one, the limit does not exist, and you can just put DNE for does not exist. Okay, and again, it's kind of handy with the graphing calculator because you can actually see that as it approaches 1, it approaches two different numbers, so it does not exist. All right. All right, let's try D out. The limit as x approaches -3 on this. Again, can't factor either one of those, so we're just going to have to plug and chug, see what we get. Again, I'm liking this graphing calculator trick, so let's try that again. So let's enter this in, and we got x minus 4 divided by x plus 3. And again, make sure you don't forget your parentheses because it makes it work much nicer with the parentheses. Actually makes it accurate with the parentheses. Without it, it's not going to work. So let's see what happens as we approach -3 here. Look, -3 right here. It's going to positive infinity and negative infinity. So, I mean, again, you can go through and you can double check with your, you can calculate, but you can see right here, again, at that line y equals -3, that these things are going opposite directions. So this one also does not exist. Okay. E, this one's a little bit different. You're going to get, sometimes you'll get this. You'll get the function is defined by this when x is less than 1, and the function is defined by something else when x is greater than 1, or some kind of value here. So let's see what happens when we get really close to 1 on this, with this one, and this is x has to be less than 1, so we have to put in, like, say 0.999. So 0.999 plus 3 gives us 3.999. So we're approaching, looks like we're approaching 4 on this one. And then if we put 1 in here, well, let's see, x is greater than, so if we put in 1.001, 1.001 cubed is basically goes to 1.00. I don't think it's even 001. It's going to be 1.000. So this is approaching 1. So again here, these are not approaching the same number. One approaches 4, one's approaching 1. So the limit on this one here, the limit does not exist. Let's put the limit. Oops, forgot a letter. Good thing I teach math, not spelling. Does not exist. Okay. All right. One other type of set of examples I want to show you is this here. You're gonna sometimes you're actually gonna get the functions already shown for you. and then we want to see what, and then you can actually use these functions, use the pictures here to figure out what the limit is. Okay, so use the graph to evaluate each limit, or if appropriate, indicate that the limit does not exist. So we're going to figure out the limit for all these. So this whole thing here is considered to be the function f of x. Okay, so this whole function here is considered f of x for what we need to know. All right, so when we look at the limit of f of x as it approaches -6, so here's -6. As it's approaching -6 from the positive side, it's approaching 3. Okay, so -6 from the positive side is going to 3. -6 from the negative side, oh sorry, that was the negative side. The negative side is approaching 3. As it's coming from the positive side, it's also approaching 3. So the limit of this function here, since they're both approaching the same number, would be 3. Okay? Let's try the same thing for -3. -3, as we're approaching -3 from the negative side, and then we'll look at -3 from the positive side also. So -3 from the negative side, we are approaching 6. Okay, so we always want to look at the y value. That's the output. Okay, so that is approaching -6. And as we're approaching -3 from the positive side, we're actually approaching -3. So again, since these numbers do not match, the function does not, the limit does not exist. Okay. Maybe push pause and try these last two on your own and then see if it matches up. Okay. All right. So 3, we want to approach 3 from the negative and 3 from the positive side. So as we're approaching 3 from the negative side, we're going towards -infinity. As we're approaching 3 from the positive side, we're approaching +infinity. So this limit also does not exist. Okay, actually you don't even need the equal signs in there, it just does not exist. And then last one here, as x approaches 6. Okay, so let's look at it as 6 from the positive side. Oh, let's be consistent. Let's see, 6 from the negative side, 6 from the positive side. Okay, as it approaches 6 from the negative side, we are going towards -infinity. Okay, as we approach 6 from the positive side, we are also going towards -infinity. So since it's going to the same value, this limit here actually equals -infinity. Okay, that's it for 19C. You should now be able to say that I understand the idea of a limit, and also that I can find the limit of various functions. All right, if you have questions, please ask. Thanks.